Good morning, the 4th of March 2024. I have long pointed out that Irish and British wind farms are insolvent and can never pay their capital costs. There's no need to go there too far. I'm going to show you something now that's very important, wind farm economics. And just to give you the point I'm saying, apart from whether they're good or bad, if a wind farm costs 50 million euros, it would need to have a profit of 2.5 million per year over 20 years to repay that 50 million. And in actual fact, they're doing well if they have 1.5 million euros in profit, and very often they have less, and sometimes they have no profit at all. I want to show you this particular piece here, money gone with the wind, and this is a report from it's by people called Christian Sandstrom, S-T-R-O-M, Christian Sandstrom, Swedish, and Christian Steinbeck on the 28th of February 2024. On the 28th of February 2024, only last week. These people have done the very same as I have done. They've obtained the record from the financial accounts from wind farms. I did over 40 of them. Must have cost me 120 euros in fees to the company record office, and they've looked at what's written therein, and it's quite limited, but it's adequate to get to know what you want. Now, among the things they cover in this is the annual reports show the situation. The next thing they deal with is losses have ranged from 19 to 90% of turnover in the years 2017 to 2022. The big thing there is, what do they mean by losses? Now, the next one is profitability of wind industry 2017 to 2022. The next one is they give certain amount of graphs and all that sort of stuff. It won't be time enough to go into it in detail, and you might switch off if I did. And the next thing they go for is are older wind farms more profitable? And funny enough, they kind of concluded that some of them were, because in some cases originally they depreciated their machinery a lot, meaning that as they got older, they didn't have much to pay back. So in other words, when the money came in the beginning, they paid off their loans, they paid off whatever they had, and now they have less debt, but and less capital depreciation. So they look on paper more profitable. But I've explained to you before that you have to depreciate your wind turbines like a tractor or anything else. You have to reduce its value in your books, and they're not doing that at all, or not doing it enough, so that they look to be making a profit on paper, but in fact they never can get any money back for them in reality. So then, are larger wind energy companies more profitable? They deal with that, and it shows a bit, not much result there. How does Chinese wind power affect the performance of the industry? And they deal with that. And an industry without sustainability. According to the Companies Act, a company may not lose more than half of its equity without the owners either declaring bankruptcy or injecting more equity. The table below shows how much of the equity has been used each year. So essentially this applies in this case. So the equity has been used up. That means people who put in shareholdings. Now, Greencoat Renewables, 100-cent share, has fallen to 85 last week. It's back up to 90 at the moment. So some people sold last week and lost 15% of their original investment in Greencoat Renewables. So the thing about it is, with few exceptions, wind power companies in south of Sweden have gained momentum in recent years. The whole industry is losing money. Shareholder contributions have been very common during these years. In other words, they're pumping in money from idiots that put their gratuity for working for years into this and lose all. But what happens the day that mostly foreign owners are not prepared to inject more money? So they're getting a lot of foreign owners, a lot of Arabs and Chinese and all of that. So they'll take the money from anywhere. And what happens when they stop injecting in the money? For reasons of space, it is not possible to discuss more than briefly some of the causes of the profitability problems we have identified, and I'm in the same position. If I make a big long video, it'll be turned off. The expansion of wind power in Sweden has gone hand in hand with nuclear decommissioning. So they took down the nuclear power stations and replaced it with wind. This change in the energy mix has been politically driven. For Swedish politicians, the main priority seems to have been the rapid expansion of wind power, which seems to have resulted in the creation of an industry with no ability to stand on its own feet. And as I have often said, and they don't say it here, you cannot have wind energy unless you have 35% of the grid from fossil fuel sources or nuclear anyway. But they don't happen to spot that. That seems to be the hardest thing for anyone to understand. The electricity certificates created a formidable Klondike where many actors rushed into the industry to take advantage of these time-limited subsidies. However, the more people joined in, the value of the electricity certificates probably fell faster than anyone had imagined, leading to a rapid decline in subsidies. So this is the certificate you get for carbon, supposedly saving carbon. The expansion of wind power in Norrland has been matched by the corresponding increase in transmission capacity. On the contrary, the ability to transmit electricity to southern Sweden has decreased due to nuclear decommissioning. So essentially the windmills are in the north, and people that want the electricity are in the south, and there's no way of getting it down there. It is clear that profitability problems are particularly severe in the north, so they'll be trying to put up pylons and pylons and pylons. A third reason we want to highlight is how wind power cannibalizes itself. And this is very important, and it's very difficult to get across. As the share of wind power in the energy mix has grown, the price of electricity is increasingly determined by how much wind there is. Remember, wind gets the same price as the highest fossil fuel in the mix, which is ridiculous. Weak winds mean high electricity price. But then wind power companies can't deliver electricity precisely because there is no wind, right? So just to read that again, weak winds means a high electricity price. Well, they don't in Ireland because the wind gets the same as the fossil fuel, but presumably in Sweden, the fossil fuel is slightly more expensive. So weak winds mean higher electricity price, but then wind power companies can't deliver electricity precisely because there is no wind. Conversely, when the wind actually blows, wind power companies have electricity to sell, but prices are low, precisely because the wind is strong and there is an oversupply of electricity in the market. It is difficult to see any way out of this dilemma. What they do is they pay them to produce nothing, to turn them off. Large losses, the rule rather than the exception. It says huge losses are the rule rather than the exception. The average loss margin after financial items of 39% in 2017 to 2022, and the total losses of 13.5% billion speaks for itself. That's a wee misprint. It's 13.5 billion losses. So already, and I have shown how the losses in Ireland are up to the billions. We see limited economics of scale. We don't see that the older companies are more profitable because depreciation no longer weighs on the bottom line. In other words, they're not including depreciation. It is clear that the profitability problems are particularly severe in the north, but they are not isolated to the area or the plants owned by the Chinese state. The Chinese own loads and loads of wind energy all over Sweden and possibly Ireland, and that shows you they are fools too. The Chinese tend to want to get into something that's essential, and now they're stuck in wind farms, and if the subsidies are pulled, they will lose lock, stock and barrel. They'll lose all. They are idiots too. So, isolated or not, areas of the plants owned by the Chinese state. Large losses are the rule rather than the exception. Okay, now, so there's no way out of this. The purpose of this article is not to criticize wind power as an energy source, so they're a way less than me. I do criticize it, they don't. It's stupid, and it's not an energy. It's not a power source. It's an energy source. Nor is it to provide a detailed analysis of why profitability is limited. No, because nobody will read it. The aim has been to describe the finances of the companies that own wind farms in Sweden. All information is based on public data, and the same is with me. We welcome clarifying questions of a critical constructive discussion of these results. We'll have a look at that in due course. So there you have it. Of course, no more than in Ireland, none of it is assessed under Article 3.2 of the SCA directive. They don't go there, they don't do due diligence, and they don't do cost benefit analysis. In Ireland, economist Colin McCartney, who was used to bring the Irish economy back on its feet after the 2008 crash, predicted there'd be NAMA for windmills. And what's happening now is that in Ireland, most of the electricity produced by wind farms is owned by utility companies like SSE, Bord Gáis, and the ESB, and the like of that. And they have a license from the government for some other economic activity, like the national toll roads, etc. And they carry them along. It's on their company's accounts that they forgive their debts. So they pay the company that built the wind farm a big load of money, and they're off laughing all the way to the bank. And the poor old taxpayer is left to pick up the tab by paying extra for electricity prices. And the Irish government has been paying, I think I got a complete write-off of my electricity bill in the last 2-month period. The Irish government is pouring in taxpayers' money to subsidise these ailing wind farms. So the people who built them are laughing, they got the cash, and now the consumer is left and the taxpayer to bail them out. How long that can go, I don't know. I read where the German government is bailing out the electricity supply to German industry by 75%. And that is NAMA for windmills and all of that. How long this can go, I don't know. This is just as illegal as anything Trump did with his valuation of his businesses, and yet there's no remarks passed. And I have written to the financial regulators in Ireland, and they tell me to go to hell with myself and don't annoy them anymore. You get the point? But what I'm saying is that this report, and I'll post a link here under, hopefully I'll be able to get it. This report, if anyone wants to bother reading it, it corroborates exactly what I am saying. Corroborates exactly what I am saying. It's a big socialist communist scheme that these things must not be let fail at any cost. And the government can bail them out by giving subsidies on the electricity bill, but they can't reduce the overall cost to industry, which is destroying its industry, because industry cannot rely on subsidies forever. If they start producing things on subsidies and the government pulls the subsidies, they won't be able to continue producing, and their capital investment in their plant and machinery and staff will all be gone. So it's not all that sustainable. Moreover, the Irish government is planning to install a massive amount more of onshore wind. We're trying to stop them, and a massive amount of offshore wind, and people are trying to stop them there as well. So instead of learning from the mistake, they're going to build more. This is just a feature of our modern society. I probably have enough said. I hope I'm able to print this underneath. But again, what I said about them all being insolvent, about them being bankrupt, is true and very true. And they're still getting somebody to put money into green coat renewables. Otherwise, the share would have fallen away down to 50% or thereabouts. Eventually, of course, green coat will collapse, and the government will bail them out with our money, the same as it bails out RTE, National Broadcaster, and all of these. It's a complete conversion to government ownership of everything. Folks, bye bye. We'll see you back for something else, and comment underneath, and I hope to post underneath. Okay.